Okay, so let's talk about a set of items that's already sitting on the shelf so that I don't have to keep the false pretense that we're going to talk about everything that goes on the shelf. Let's talk about them. Okay, so first off, this, and this. These Pokeballs were my daughter's first, but they're essentially garbage. See, there are these card packs, and for people that play the Pokemon card game, you understand exactly what these are. There's a couple of packs of cards that come in these, and then you get the metal tin Pokeball. Well, they didn't serve any real purpose. But they do look kind of cool, and if I could get all of them, that would be neat. And since I happen to be buying cards for her anyway, she takes the cards, and then she gives me these. Next time I buy one, I'll look for the set that's in a different one of the Pokeballs, and eventually, if it ever pans out that way, there'll be an entire set of all of them. They're not too big, they're decent, and they look good on the shelf, and they complement... There goes a plane. Plane is past us now. And they complement these. These are really cool. These are big, giant plushies, which I found, if I remember right, they may have been at GameStop that I picked all three of these up. I could be wrong, but I seem to remember GameStop being involved with finding all three of these. They're super ridiculously soft. And they represent the three Kanto starters that I care about. They represent Blasto. They represent, of course, Squirtle, Bulbasaur, and Charmander. And, of course, they are the evolved forms. Now, I like these. I like these a lot. The Kanto starters are, for me, still the greatest frickin' design in Pokemon starters. They never did better than this, and these are solid. They are solid, they are decent detail, they are super ridiculously soft, they sit up there, they look absolutely great, and they're a decent little talking point for people that hate him. Because I get it. I get it. People like to tell me that he's overhyped. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think so. Sometimes it's irritating when everybody likes a certain thing. Okay? And sometimes, and I've said this about myself, sometimes that drives me away from certain characters. Hell, when I was talking about the Pokemon that I would pick or the ones that I prefer from the starters, some of them did get knocked down for that specific reason. But look, his design is iconic. Before I knew a damn thing about the series, I had bought Red version. I had bought Red just because he was on it. Because I looked and I said, let me grab all these real quick because these are part of my story here. I had said, holy shit, there's a turtle and there's a dragon. Well, I mean, it's a fucking dragon. I mean, what am I gonna do? And I picked the dragon. I did it, okay? I did it on that aspect, on nothing more than the fact that he was on the case. His design sold the damn thing. And his design lends itself to the attitude that they used in the anime. It does. And it lends itself to the attitude that we imagine that our cool Charizards would have. I imagine, just by looking at them, that this one is fierce, has a bit of has a bit of a standoff attitude and is probably highly aggressive. I believe that about this. I can easily see him being too cool. I can easily see him being stubborn. I can easily see him being the one that would attack first, violently, and fast. I have no problem believing any of those things just looking at his design. He was a solid design. I love the Kanto Starters. There's no reason. When I seen these three, I had to put them up there. Blastoise, I believe that if you were in the real Pokemon universe, Charizard would be cool to train. Blastoise would be dependable to train. Blastoise looks like it would protect you. It looks very much like it has the attitude of putting itself in front of you. That if you are in danger, that's what you want. That shell is almost a complete metaphor for the kind of attitude that I believe that a Squirtle, a Blastoise by that point would have. I think that it would put itself in front of you. I think that it would push you back. I think that it would be protective. Almost to the point where you protected it, and now it sees an opportunity to protect you. I believe that. And I believe that in an interesting way, I believe that his design screams as well. I believe that he's the kind of Pokemon that goes through life with you. He'll battle. He'll protect you. He'll get defensive. Sometimes he may have a bit of an attitude, depending on the food that he wants or something of that nature. I believe that he could be a little bit of a standoffish thing, and that he could have a little bit of smugness, but I believe that he's fun. Remember, I picked him by accident, but I believe that these designs speak about the nature of these creatures. You want to fiercely rip through the competition of the Pokemon world? You pick a Charmander. Because you do, because I believe that their attitude would have that in real life. You want to guarantee the protection of yourself and your team? A natural-born tank? Well, that's Blastoise. You pick the Squirtle. If you want a lifelong companion, a friend, a pet, a partner in your life, you pick the Bulbasaur, and you get to the Venusaur. These three Pokemon are immensely iconic, and it is not just because they were the first ones. It's because their designs speak volumes. You can know nothing about Pokemon. Walk in the store and find this toad a-looking at you. And you can literally take him off the shelf, put him on your shelf, and make an entire idea behind him. You know his personality. You know what he'd be like if he was alive. You know how he would act. Like, you could just look at him. The design, the characterization that was put into the original three starters is unbelievable. And that is why we tend to find gimmicks and not care as much about the new starters. I don't think as much passion, drive, or heart was put into the design of most Pokemon that came after the first generation. And that's just business. Look, Pokemon was a passion project that barely happened. And after that, and I'm not saying that Pokemon wasn't out to make money. Look, that was their job, to make video games. They made a game. And when it took off, they were surprised. They never expected it to be this big, which is why there's a certain amount of heart and design that goes into the original. And I think it does proceed into the gold and silver games, and then it does degrade over time, but it does that for a reason. Because now you're on a time restraint, and you're basically told, make Pokemon. Well, that changes the attitude behind it. When you make a story or write a story because it has a certain level of heart, it feels different than when you just make it because the last one made money and you have to keep producing. We are going to see Pokemon that are still wonderful designs. Hell, I love the newest Pokemon, Sword and Shield. I'm telling you, I liked that bunny, and I love Urshifu. Holy shit, that is a good design. But that's the nature of these things. You're still going to get good stuff. But when you're on a time restraint, when you're forced to produce, it is a different kind of work than a passion project. Hell, watch the Rocky movies. Part 1, passion project. Part 2, made a lot of money. Still gives an awful big shit about the character, but now you're on a bit of a time restraint. Luckily, there was enough passion brought over from the first movie to make the second one absolutely phenomenal. Then you get to the third one. And I'm not saying the third one is bad, because I've told you this before. I watch all three. No. I watch every Rocky movie, including Creed 1 and Creed 2, every year. Every single year, at November 1st, we put in Rocky 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. We normally skip 5. Then we do Rocky Balboa. Then sometimes we watch Grudge Match just because it almost seems like an offshoot of the same concept and it's a fun movie to kind of put into the mix. Then we watch Creed 1 and Creed 2. We do it every year. Me and my wife. I've been doing it for many years. And even she's starting to pick out exactly what it is that I love so much about how much work and how much passion goes into those movies. But when you watch the third one, there's some life elements that take place that really help to tie into the main mythology of Rocky and the story of a man's life from start to finish. And how the father that you have, the father figure that you gain, nothing is promised, and we move into the future and you will inevitably lose the people in front of you. And not everybody stays where you met them. Enemies do become friends. Friends do become enemies. Life is complicated. It's way more complicated than just simply saying, this is this way and this is that way. That is not the way life works. So, that's why I believe that when you get to Rocky 3 and the movies are making money now and you have to pump them out quickly, Rocky 3 did fall into this foundation of moving it along. He had general ideas of what he wanted to do. And he knew the characters very well, and that allowed us to push into the next boundary. But it does not live up to the first two movies because it can't. And the fourth movie, while easily being one of the best of the Rocky movies, we have to admit something to ourselves. As fun as it is, as much of a guilty pleasure as it is, and as big of a deal as that movie is to the concept and life foundation of the Rocky character, it's a bit of a guilty pleasure. It's not the best Rocky movie, or it shouldn't be. Artistically and character-driven wise. It shouldn't be. But damn is it fun. Like 80% of that movie is just collage. Like literal full fucking music videos. Like you start it with a music video, then you go on to do a couple of ideas, and then you move into basically a music video, which is the entrance to the Ivan Drago fight, which then, of course, we know what happens. And then you go from there into basically another music video, and then he goes over to Russia from that music video into another music video, into having his wife reunite with him, which takes us into another music video, which then takes us into the fight, which plays another music video. It's fucking crazy. And even though that movie is wonderful, you could tell that the times were a-hitting, that they were forcing these movies coming out, and they were like, hey, that made a lot of money, do it again. That made a lot of money, do it again. That made a lot of money, do it again. That's not good reason to make your movies. And sometimes the greatest passion projects fall victim, and that's what I feel is actually happening with a lot of Pokemon games. It doesn't matter how much passion the creators have for that universe anymore. They are now at the point of it being a job, and they have to produce. And when you have to produce, the ideas don't lay the same foundations as something that's built from passion. It simply doesn't. Interesting that I got a chance to talk about the Rocky movies off of these wonderful fucking plushies. Always happy to find an excuse to talk about Rocky. But that was it. Now I can actually put these on the shelf with no ifs, ands, or buts. We've talked about them. They belong up there. They're a part of the collection. And we have now added these into the collection. I'm going to get out of here.
I have spoken. Take what you will from it.